Good evening, all. Ira Epstein, and here we are on Sunday evening, March 2nd, 2025, with your financial market wrap-up, your weekly edition, so we'll look at weekly charts. Now, I wanted to do this earlier in the weekend, and I've been indoors the whole weekend, but so much was going on that I dare not. It's everything from statements the president has made about cryptocurrencies, which are driving them sharply higher tonight, $95 gain, a 10% gain in price, if you look at it, to whether we're going to get tariffs on Mexico and Canada coming up on Tuesday. And of course, what's going on in Ukraine, and will we be supporting, won't we? One thing I can tell you, the president in a roundabout way got what he wanted out of Europe. One of the campaign promises that President Trump promised was he wanted Europe to be putting more towards their own defense, especially NATO members, which aren't meeting those goals. Well, he's got it. Today, there was an emergency meeting held by Keir Starmer, and he put together France, Italy, everybody was coming together in support for Ukraine. Of course they are. That is on their doorstep, as President Trump has said. I am not saying in any manner that I am proud of what happened in any way at that meeting on Friday, but it did get a reaction in a different way, and as things eventually settled down, President got them to spend more money, committed, going to do it, and there won't be troops on the ground in Europe. It'll be French, it'll be UK, and who knows who else will join in if and when a peace deal is reached. And in the end, there will be a peace deal. This cannot go on forever, period. Will there be the deal for the minerals? Probably, after cooler heads prevail and what goes on, and had President Zelensky of Ukraine understood that the moment the deal is signed, the U.S. has interests there, and they may want to, that's being us in America, defend our interests. It was a roundabout way to get things done. Instead, he fell into the trap, and I have to say it, a trap of just attacking Russia, and he should have just been quiet. Why are you undermining President Trump trying to get a deal for peace done, and here you're undermining it? That's basically giving you a synopsis of what happened. I am not in any manner saying I approve of what went on there, both sides. Better ways to do it. I felt like I was watching something out of a grade school. It was terrible. All right. So you had a big rally at the end of the day in the stock market, and it's again reversing course. The metals are coming back to the upside. Just take a look at what's going on. The dollar, which got scared about all this, rallied. It's coming back down. It's time for you to be, by the way, moved to the June on all the interest rate numbers. Do that. It's time for you to have moved to the May in the Brent, and you can either go April or May in the natural gas, either one. I don't care which one you do. Probably better off with the April, in fact, but something you have to watch in through there. Let's take a look at what we have. Maybe we should take a look at one other thing. I've given you a lot here before we get too far. I've covered crypto news, the European Emergency Summit, U.S. tariffs to hit. You're going to get normal news, if there's anything normal left now. The global group's going to release the final February manufacturing sector PMI. You're going to get the ISM with their February manufacturing sector index. That's coming out at 9. You're going to get construction spending at 9 o'clock. Those are normal. It's everything else that you got to deal with. And remember, you're going to get President Trump speaking to Congress Tuesday evening. I think it's 8 o'clock Central Time, 6 o'clock Pacific time, so the whole country can see what goes on. As you can see, you're backing off a little bit on the monthly basis. We're first day in the month. You're down 0.11%. Not a big deal at all. The market, though, is underneath the 18-week average of closes. It hasn't done that in a while. Did it back here for one time? Back here. If it stays under it for any length of time, there's a problem. But it's a monthly and weekly readings, and you're on the monthly, the first day, and on the week, the first day too. So we've got to let this settle in and see what it all does. You certainly have, and I think you can see it, double tops that have formed on the S&P. You've got a pattern of a higher high and a lower low. That is not a trend as I see it on a weekly chart. And these are all weekly charts we're looking at. You have higher high, lower low here. You're under the 18 weeks, so the bias is down. The resistance is the upper Bollinger Band, and it's done a fine job of being a resistance point. And a support point is probably the lower band in the 58.50 level if the market breaks down there and momentum has turned down. So you have the bias down, void of a real trend. I wouldn't be surprised to see the market whipping back and forth between the upper Bollinger Band and the lower one. In the Dow, the trend is down. You have lower highs, lower lows. The market is fighting at the 18-day average of closes. That number, 18-week average of closes. That number is 43,874. You're 43,863. So you're under it. You're under all that. Momentum down, bias down. Under the current chart picture, you'd have to get way up back here 3 weeks ago in order to negate the downtrend. The NASDAQ is void of a trend. It made another run a week and a half, 2 weeks ago actually now, at the upper band, failed there, came down this week under the 18-week average, and it might go for that 20,476 level. Wouldn't surprise me if it did so. Again, the markets are going to give you a reaction as to whether or not these tariffs are coming or not, and when they come, what will that be, or won't they come, or will they be moderated? Nobody has the slightest idea what's going to happen. Do you reward Mexico for turning over 29 members of the cartel? Do you reward them for 10,000 troops? Have they stopped fentanyl? Do you reward them for the smallest amount of illegal border crossings at our southern border in years? I don't know. I don't know what the president's going to say. I don't know what he's going to do about Canada. What he did do today in Canada is he initiated another study into lumber because he thinks the U.S. is being penalized by Canadian lumber. They take certain American lumber products, bring them there, make cabinets and so on, ship them back. He's looking into all this. I don't know. By the way, I doubt that you do at this point. In the 5-year notes, you've rallied up. Obviously, there's nervousness here. You've rallied up into the 100-day average and the upper Bollinger Band. And let's face it, since the president has gotten into office, which is only 5 weeks, every week he's been in, interest rates have fallen, mortgages have fallen. They made a point of that today on all the TV shows where he had his staffs being represented. I happen to watch the one with Scott Bessent, our Treasury Secretary, and he made that point over and over. So you're at a resistance point, you're overbought, you're out of your downtrends. The question is why, and is it sustainable? I think you'd agree with that. When we look at the 10-year note, it's the same thing. You're overbought. Any reading that's in the 70s is an overbought reading. When numbers are going sideways over 80, then they're embedded and you typically lift even higher because momentum trend is locked in. That's not the case here. So you've come from low up to here. What will the market do next? That's going to be the big question. As for the dollar, you're trying to be in a downtrend. The word is trying. Are tariffs bullish or bearish the dollar? It's going to be a big question. Second question, is the fact that the U.S. is proving to be how do I put this, maybe a not trusted ally? Is that bullish or bearish the dollar? Because we've seen a change under President Trump. Whether you're for him or against him, you've got to look at how others look at us. Mexico, Canada, all of Europe. That is a free country, not part of the Russian conglomeration there. And you got to ask yourself just what is going on. And that is the thing. Now, another thing that's happening for the dollar, I realize Europe's suddenly very involved and they want to give President Trump ideas on the peace. He didn't ask for that. Remember, he was running this by himself with Russia. Suddenly, because of Zelensky's moves, now others are getting involved in this. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing. He had a game plan for an agenda. He was never going to get Ukraine to just say yes to anything blindly in Europe. I don't know what this all means, and you got to think that through. It's very confusing. In the euro, you've come up to the 18-day average and you're failing. So we've had a bear market rally. That's one way to look at it. And now the question is, what do we have? I have read reports all weekend as to why the dollar is topping here and why the dollar is going to have another run here to the upside, both. And again, the uncertainty is what's got traders all confused and why these packs are coming out. The Canadian dollar, I think Canada and Mexico are the most vulnerable. I think especially Canada and China. There's just something the president doesn't like about Trudeau, about what has gone on, the moves that have made there. I think Ms. Sheinbaum has a better chance of moderated tariffs than Canada. That doesn't mean they both get away. I don't know. In the Japanese yen, I would think the good breaks in the yen, and I'm talking back towards 65.40, which is 100 points away, and I don't know if it'll get there. That probably finds some support from the traders that think, okay, the trend is up longer term. We got overbought. We hit the upper Bollinger Band. On pullbacks, because the yen is likely to see the Bank of Japan go with higher rates now, maybe that's the area that would find the support. In Bitcoin, now you've got to look at what Bitcoin did this past week. The market was down 11.71%. It's up 12.69% this moment because of those statements from President Trump. I read and I mentioned in my newsletter, and I've said, you know, he's getting in his ear from people that are saying, since there's a finite amount of Bitcoin out there and you can't mine it beyond a certain point, maybe it's another strategic reserve. I'm not saying I'm for it or against it, not leaning that way at all. But today, he's got a commission, an executive order that he wants a study on it. And he said he loves these cryptos. Okay. So you're back to a resistance point. This is where the pros are going to sell into it. You may not agree with me, but I see the resistance right there. In the Brent and the WTI, the market is coming down. I can see how the market has come down here under the 18-week average. I'm looking for the market to act with resistance here. We'll see what energies do. Crude oil is in a downtrend, especially the Brent. Is it headed to 69.70? There's resistance in the market at the 74.90 level. You wouldn't want to see it much over the 2-week high right over there. When we take a look at WTI, bearish, the same thing, resistance at the 18-week average. Gasoline's been on a tear to the upside, as you can see. Big move there. And that's where you're at on all this. So I'm going to be covering this in great detail over the next 2 days. And it's going to be important. The next two, because you got the aftermath tomorrow. What's the president going to say? How's he going to handle getting in front of Congress, the tariffs? Are they going to go on? Aren't they going to go on? Are the rewards for the countries that do certain things, which could be what he wants to get? A lot to deal with. We'll cover it in everything in our free offers. The Linn Group's writing about it. I'll be writing about it. The grains are going to be very important in this because we export and import so much. This is going to be key to our two trade partners, Canada and Mexico. You want to be on top of this. So how do you do that? It's pretty simple. You go to iraepstein.com, free offers, give that a click. There'll be a cursor up here. Give that a click. You'll see it if you're on your PC computer. It'll take you right to the page. Sign up what you want. We'll get you set up. I'm Ira. I'll catch up with you all in the morning in my other evening videos, which will come out right after this one. Take care.